Namaste, good morning, welcome to the class. We are in the process of studying modern dance in India or Indian modern dance, whatever you call. And away from the world of mythology and dance drama, from a strictly structured classical formats and traditional group works, there arose a solo talent in the suburbs of Bombay. In modern dance, that can be truly called India's first real modern Indian dancer, right? Her name is Asha. Like her name, she brought hope to Indian dance and many followed in her footsteps later. Even when she gave up dancing due to the bad knees and settled in New York City, teaching dance theory at Long Island, she has remained inspirational. Asha Coorlawala, renamed Uttara Asha Kalevala, realized early in her career that the need for a contemporary and aesthetically valid dance for India, an expression of the secular life for an entire post-independence generation yearning to relate to their rich cultural heritage. She set about creating a multilingual vocabulary, including Daboo, sculptural images, and Hatha Yoga, along with movements in the Martha Graham and Merce Cunningham schools. She created a fresh genre, adding a new chapter to dance history. She made possible a meaningful connection with the rich past through abstract but accessible body language. In incorporating multilingual movement vocabularies and electronic music, Yaksha Yakshi in 1970, The Winds of Shiva in 1984, she moved beyond modern into the post-modern dance movement and world dance. Now 25 years later, the Indian dance scene is creatively alive with dancers working in modern dance idioms initiated by Asha's pioneering work. Some well-known dancers she mentored include Astad Daboo, Bharat Sharma, Shaimak Davar, Sita Mani and Jay Chandra of the United Kingdom. Born in Hyderabad and educated in India and the USA, Asha has had an exceptional dance and academic career. After she graduated from Smith's College, she trained in an intensive scholarship program under the legendary Martha Graham. Then followed 8 years of studying, teaching and dancing in New York as a member of the Pearl Lang Dance Company, Matteo's Ethno-American Dance Company and Ballet Hispanico. In addition to these commitments with the established dance companies, whose repertoires included works by Alvin Ailey, Beatty, Lang and Sokolov, Asha worked as a guest artist with the avant-garde dance companies of Sunok Lee, Kai Takei and Reynaldo Agelandro, the dancers of Asian origin who worked bilingually with their national heritage and that of contemporary dance environment of New York City, and who, like Asha, are now recognized for their pioneering work in Asian American dance. In 1969 at the American Dance Festival, Asha also performed Yoni Rainier's historic trio A. the TOA, this rich mix of training and work with America's celebrated teachers and dance companies, as well as the avant-garde choreographers of the downtown New York, and whose works are later termed as postmodern, provided Asha with an understanding of varying modern, postmodern and new dance traditions. Additionally, in India, Asha studied with distinguished teachers, learning Hatha Yoga from the BKS Iyengar and Bharatanatyam from Kadirvelu and Thangamani Nagarajan, formerly of Kalakshetra. To project the application of modern dance techniques in the creation of fresh Indian dance forms, she formed in New York the Mandala Dance Theatre Company of 7 young dancers and herself. Asha brought Mandala to India on a 9-city tour in 1974. Meeting Swami Muktanand in 1973 proved to be a turning point for Asha, and as she was questioning many aspects of life, he gave her the answers as it were. So she renamed herself Uttara, and Uttara was also the name of the dancer in Mahabharata. Her company was called Uttara Dances henceforth. Her work, Yakshi, had already been shown in New York, and UDAYSHANKAR's son Anand Shankar had sent her his tape of music, a new composition with Moog synthesizer. He was inspired by this tape, and her body moved and swayed to it, bringing out the lasya elements in an otherwise Western ramrod type of body. Yakshi became the first postmodern work in Bharatanatyam and modern dance in 1974. Learning Siddha Yoga next, her body became fascinated by the structures of rasa. With her friend Nada Klein, she developed a work called Only I Am. Her dances were well meshed and merged, Indian with Western. A general culture writer of Madras, Vidya-mitra, wrote, Angikam Bhuvanam goes the Dhyana Shloka in Sanskrit. Every dancer of every classical discipline in India has interpreted these words in movement. At the Music Academy, Devika writes, I watched a totally different interpretation. The idiom is unimaginable, modern dance, but the expression is essentially of an abstract Indian philosophical idea. The precision of her style becomes a moving diagram, that is yantra. The dancer has communicated, and I recognized Angikam. Quote Devika. A review in France of the same dance, say, Only I Am, opens with the unlikely sentence, quote, The moon and the stars shine brighter whenever Uttara Asha Coorlawala passes. With an astonishing mixture of the most diverse techniques, Uttara finds a perfect synthesis resulting in a unity beyond time, quote complete. In his reference to the moon and the stars shining brighter, clearly not a personal tribute to the dancer, a French viewer recognized the Angikam Shloka performed by Asha. Asana in 1978 transforms into dance a sequence of Hatha Yoga postures. Quote, untouched by her creative genius in a memorable way, unquote, the clarity and contemporary elegance of these yogic movements were revealed as they merged and dissolved to the strains of Devi Stotram, an ancient chant to the primordial goddess, or to the singing of the Nada Klein's own composition, O My Mind. 10 years after Asha choreographed this dance, dancers were again exploring Hatha Yoga in Indian dance. Asana may be viewed on videotape in the archives of the National Center for the Performing Arts, Mumbai. Through the 70s and early 80s, Asha went on to refine her vision of a new dance form by continually integrating different movement vocabularies, Bharatanatyam, yoga, modern dance, a goal she defined and set out for herself. She said, in seeking to integrate the disparate vocabularies, influences and experiences in my life, I sought to arrive at a structural integrity in the inner layers of my choreography. And for us, what a coincidence that today is the World Yoga Day, and we are talking of a dancer and her works which synthesize yoga to dance. At the same time, Asha acknowledged that some of her choreographies came from inspiration and not perspiration. Draupadi's sari in 1980 was not hers, it was a gift. I saw the dance with my eyes closed, and even as I reconstructed what I had seen, I was not conscious of its truths till critics told me what they were. Deep Inside in 1980 and Asana in 78 similarly have also been mysterious gifts, says Asha. Amrit in 77, a dance expressing the singular source of seemingly opposed emotions, has been performed and pointed, and Asha's choreography for Delibes Lakme in 1980 was performed by dancers of La Grande Ballet du Théâtre de Tours, France, trained exclusively in classical ballet. Nothing could seem more desperate than the styles of the dances described above. The essentially American modern dance vocabulary and feeling of Asha's early repertory and the multi-vocabularies and rich Indian classical sensibility of her later work. But yet, both arise directly from her integrated personality and experiences, mediating constantly between the two cultures of the United States and India. The Sholakattu game, choreographed by Asha with music by John Gilbert, was commissioned by the Dance Theatre of Harlem and premiered at the Aaron Davis Hall, New York on May 31st, 1987. In this piece, the movement patterns follow the Sholakattu structures, but many of the movements were inspired by the moods and tensions of the dancers and by their response to Bharatanatyam. This is what is said by Shanta Sarabjit Singh. She is a writer and a dance critic. She spoke of this piece as quite essentially Uttara, intellectually challenging, technically bold. Siksa Kam, a post-minimal piece, is also in the genre of abstract exploration relating contemporary and Indian classical dance. It was commissioned for the Bombay Arts Festival in 1987. Before that, in the 84 East-West encounter, Asha's slow motion transitions between various Bharatanatyam adaboos exposed a systematic understanding of its spatial rules and structure. This was followed by 1993 at the New Directions of Dance Conference in Delhi. In 1988, she was one of the 9 international women selected to participate in the Electra Festival in Boston. In 1992, Asha was invited to choreograph and present a solo to inaugurate the Hollywood star-studded opening of the Earth Summit in the United Nations General Assembly, New York. Her lone figure on the stage was projected against a giant screen behind and above her. In 1989 and 93, Asha restaged her work Shringara, a piece for you and the 3 dancers. The music, specially composed by Nicholas Naylor Leyland, involved instruments and stylistic elements from the various cultures that coexist in very close proximity in New York. The music included Radha Thomas's sensuous voice scatting in Carnatic jazz style. The choreography was constructed so that each individual dancer was offered the opportunity to participate creatively in developing her role, while the unity of the concept and close coordination of the activities were maintained. Program notes explain that the dance was dedicated to the first generation of South Asian young adults born and growing up in the United States between cultures and torn between conflicting value system. To date or not to date is their problem. The three viewpoints about Shringara, a woman's inner erotic life, are juxtaposed to present sequentially. And I am very happy to tell you today that I was one of the three dancers in 1992 when this piece was premiered in the University of Wisconsin for the South Asian Congress. Myself, Purnima Shah of Kathak, and of course Asha and her choreography. The erudite analysis of the three sections of the Sancharis as danced by Asha is provided by Shanta Sarabjit Singh in the Sanchari. She says Uttara presents three versions of the Kshetragna Padam Ninnu Juchi in Raga Pantuvarali. The first is the traditional version of the Virahini Naika. The second, contraposition contemporary dance and the Bharatanatyam vocabulary to indicate a shift of reality. In the third stage, the innermost resonance of the poem is probed through both the classical combination of the longing for mumuksha liberation and the erotic and sensual experience that the poem hints at. A truly gifted performer who knows the reach of both the body and the flame within it. Quote complete. Asha's solo performances included many dances choreographed by distinguished Indian and American choreographers, reflecting both her multi-layered dance background and her active search for a repertory appropriate for dance in India. However, what was unique here was the astonishing range and versatility of the dances she performed that demanded in actual performance a difficult juxtaposition of different energies and dance techniques. For example, the American modern dance piece of her early repertory, which included La choreographie Dijon, New Yorkese, such as the Americanization of Uttara 1982, choreographed by Major Butcherfield, and Chair Piece 1977, choreographed by Gary Davis, were danced with evident enjoyment, great physical stamina, and a wacky sense of humor. Later in the same program, Uttara Asha moved with perfect ease from these exuberant dances to her own choreographies, serene works such as Only I Am and Asana, dances that called for totally different inner energy and dance training. Uttara Asha's first solo program, Uttara Dances, presented by the United States Information Service in conjunction with local sponsors in an Indian dance tour of 9 cities during December 77 to January 78, included works by distinguished Indian as well as American choreographers such as Mrunalini Sarabhai, Anurag, Kathak Guru Mohan Rao, Kalyanpurkar, Usha Sukta, Padma Subramanyam, Adi Kondanar, created dances for her that were distinctively Indian in movement, style and content, even as they exceeded the boundaries of traditional classical dance. In this way, Asha tested directly some of the methods of choreographers and dancers already exploring change in Indian dance. Along with these dances, she performed Sechita in 1978, a solo from the Broadway show for colored girls, choreographed by Paula Moss. Gary Davis contributed Chair Piece and Ishi. Alvin Ailey personally gave her the rights to perform Poverty Train, a work from his own repertory. Asha felt that these works with abstract approaches to narrative would resonate well with Indian audiences already familiar with the concept of dance theatre as found in Asian traditions of performance. She says, this opportunity to perform successively for varied audiences from different parts and cultural cross sections of India was most interesting for me. Each audience responded differently to the same program, a practical lesson in the ancient concept of theatre as Darpana. Uttara Asha went to make 20 international dance tours in addition to 11 All India dance tours and has performed as a cultural representative of USIS and ICCR. She danced not only in America and India, but also in England, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, Japan, and on a 6-week tour of then GDR and Russia. During the technical rehearsals for a concert at the Nehru Center in Bombay in 1987, she sustained a severe injury to her right knee. Later, she found that in fact both knees had suffered the damaging cumulative effect of years of practicing and performing a demanding repertory on the hard, unsprung stage floors in India, painfully inadequate performance conditions for dancers. This accidental forced a change of focus, and Uttara Asha went on to develop a second highly successful career as dance scholar. In 1994, she received the prestigious Graduate Research Award from CORD, that is Congress on Research in Dance, an American organization for dance research with an international membership. The following year, she was elected to Kappa Delta Pi, the National Honor Society for Educators for Excellence in Research. She is an active participant in CORD and sits on its editorial board and conference committee. As a visiting professor, she has been teaching courses at Barnard, Princeton and Long Island University, and sections of her doctoral thesis are prescribed reading for graduate courses in dance and theatre. She has a considerable body of published writing. In 1967, when Asha choreographed and staged Joyous Cosmology in Bombay, it was India's first modern dance performance with a group of local dancers, including the talented Astad Daboo. She had trained. In 1970, when she choreographed and performed Yakshi in New York, it startled people who at that time could not imagine that American and Indian dance could meet at a serious artistic level. In 1974, this piece was elaborated into Yaksha Yakshi, which was performed by the Mandala Dance Theatre Company in major cities in India on a tour that turned out to be a watershed event. The very term modern dance had to be explained constantly on that tour, as in those days dance was conceived of it as either classical, folk, filmy and popular. Today, this kind of work is labeled intercultural. With this tour, Asha's attempts to forge a new dance form for a new India coalesced into a dance expression of contemporary secular life. Uttara Asha was recognized by the national press as India's first modern dancer. Thus, despite much initial confusion and skepticism, this tour in a significant way fulfilled its purpose. It was not until 1984's East-West Dance Encounter in Bombay, where she worked closely with George Leshner, who consulted her for his curating and artistic decisions, that contemporary Indian dance was recognized as a movement. Uttara Asha was a phenomenon when she exploded on the Indian dance scene, first in 1973 and again in 1974 with her dance company, followed by frequent performance visits, workshops and dance tours in the ensuing years. Her performances resonated for an entire post-independence generation yearning to relate heritage and modernity. Uttara Asha demonstrated that this could be done. So strong was the rapport she struck that her ticketed dance concert in large auditoriums all over India were invariably sold out. By her pioneering efforts, she created a modern dance awareness and ethos in India and opened the way for an Indian modern dance. This is a role envisioned for her by her legendary teacher Martha Graham, who clearly saw in Uttara Asha the creator of modern dance in India. However, her choreography has travelled further into postmodern and world dance as well as Indian new dance. Uttara Asha's career and her place in Indian dance is very aptly described by noted writer and dance critic V.V. Prasad, who compared her impact on modern Indian dance to that of Sir C.V. Raman on modern Indian physics. When I saw Uttara Asha perform for Kaladharmi in Delhi 5 years ago, I said she was India's contribution to modern dance. Now we can say that equally she is the world's contribution to Indian dance. Let us look into another dancer who is Indian and who is modern dancer. Rare, another Parsi like Uttara Asha Coorlawala. If one Parsi talent of Bombay, although born in Jamshedpur, made meaningful inroads into modern Indian dance, it is Astad Deboo. Not using much of Ney traditional dance language, he has made his own place under the sun. His show for President of India in Stockholm proved how he had reached far and wide. Despite attempts at pigeonholing, Astad Deboo is a dancer who defies easy definition. On one hand, there lingers the image of restless 21-year-old who hitchhiked his way across the world, impatient with the absence of any contemporary edge in the dance he saw back home. On the other, there is his impassioned declaration that he never would turn to the West to rediscover his East. That is, in fact, Kathakali and Kathak remain important signatures to his flamboyantly hybrid art that draws from classical ballet, jazz, Martha Graham, Pina Bausch and Japanese folk. On one hand, he seems to fit into the archetype of the solitary seeker on a lonely but fiercely independent journey of self-exploration and discovery. On other, he is the dynamic collaborator who has initiated work with a spectrum of creative artists, actors, puppeteers, Drupad singers, deaf performers, Thangta artists from Manipur, in his effort to rise out of the potential ghetto of the creative isolation. On one hand, he is the iconoclast, the chronic subversive, flouting the synetic dogma of varied dance idioms, brazen, unapologetic in his refusal to live in any purist cubbyhole. On the other, he is the syncretic integrator, committed to evolving a composite lexicon of movement from his experience with varied dance vocabularies a long time before postmodern became marketable. It is clear, however, that when the Sangeet Natak Academy Award for contemporary dance was conferred on Astad a few years ago. It was in belated recognition of his contribution to the field. His collaborations with the British composer Francis Skilstone and Italian singer Amelia Ciccone, along with students of King Alfred's College, Winchester, called Trying Orpheus. It explored the theme of Orpheus as shaman. It was the brainchild of Silkstone, who happens to be assistant professor of music at King Alfred's College. Astad has also worked much with deaf students from the Action Players Kolkata to participate in an international festival for the deaf in Washington DC in July in 1986. I have been with them since 1986, mainly because of the reciprocity involved. They are keen and dynamic and enthusiastic. I don't find that kind of energy and willingness among many other young people, which explains why I don't have any regular dance students, in addition of course to the fact that my performance schedule doesn't permit it, says Astad. Collaborations excite him. Of course, the funding angle remains a source of frustration. Despite these limitations, he has worked with 8 Manipuri drummers for a 30-minute commission work, and that in turn has led to an enduring interaction between all of them. It is the sustained nature of this kind of relationship that makes collaboration work worthwhile. He has performed with the President of India in Sweden in 2015, the only Indian dancer to do so. Thankfully, he has never really felt the pressure, although he has always resented the fact that he was not able to present a new production more than once in any Indian city. After one show, he is expected to cope up with something new. But he haven't really allowed that to impinge on his creative process. The directions his dance has taken have emerged naturally and spontaneously, most of the times at rehearsals, with one set of movements flowing into another like a river flowing into different tributaries. His dance has become more minimalist, more focused, more centered. It is also more motivated by diverse kind of performance space. He is also very bored with the conventional proscenium stage, and though his work has always drawn from various idioms, there is no question of his Indianness having intensified or diminished at any point. He has never felt uprooted from the context. Of course, Asha says, my work keeps changing, but has been able to evolve my own signature. When Astad started out in late 1960s and early 1970s, he was dissatisfied because there was no evidence of any modernist trend in Indian dance scene other than the work being done by Uttara Asha Kalevala. She can be hailed as a path breaker because at that point all Indian dancers were doing classical stuff. Today, that has changed considerably in different parts of the country, but he still feels embattled in Mumbai. Yes, there does seem to be a fair amount of ferment in the other art forms. The visual art scene is interesting, particularly the exploration of space that is taking place with the installation art. Poetry seems to be carving out its own niche, and English theatre does seem to be looking up. But from the dance point of view, Mumbai is still dead, he feels. He just can't think about dance here. I do finish my work here, but the creative process of initiating new ideas or even thinking about dance happens outside this city. Even my collaborations have happened largely outside Mumbai. While my family and friends bring me back on a regular basis, I don't really feel any artistic allegiances to this city. I do have an audience here, but an artist needs other creative, financial and infrastructural inputs in order to survive, and those are sorely absent, says Astad. There is greater maturity with age. Smartly, Astad doesn't simply prance around the stage. He says, my energy has become more concentrated, less dissipated. When I performed for the Sarabhai festival in Ahmedabad, several viewers, including Dashrath Patel, told me that the kind of work I was doing was something only my body could do. Everyone's body is different, and my work has evolved out of my sensibility and physicality. So, I guess it is uniquely suited to my strength as a performer, says Ashad. He must be the only Indian dancer to have gone around the globe not only once or twice, but many times. Astad says he would like to take a year off from my performance schedule and do a little rethinking and reflecting. But after 32 consecutive years, that is also a very scary decision to take, particularly in view of the fact that performances are planned at least a year in advance or two in advance. Besides, the response that he is getting now from viewers suggested that the work is moving to another level and that he is able to transport the audiences there as well. It would be difficult to take a break at this kind of creative breakthrough juncture. But yes, his body is beginning to register its first aches and pains now. My knee has started giving pain. My brisk walk has come to an end. One doctor actually advised me to rethink the way I moved, while another offered an opinion that was less dire. So, hopefully, I will soon be as good as new. I guess I was just plain lucky not to have had any physical problems until the age of 54, and I still hope to be dancing 10 years from now, because while I enjoy the process of choreography, it is dancing that gives me the real high. Ashtas has carved a niche for himself. He has been a subject of many films and studies, but at heart remains a simple Parsi boy born in the steel city of Jamshedpur with no art or dance around for miles. He has worked very hard to reach pinnacle of success. His quest has been to initiate or be part of a movement engaged in more exploratory ways of looking at dance. Today, there are more than a dozen groups in the country involved in creating innovative work, so there is a certain sense of satisfaction. Besides, he also finds greater levels of acceptance today from the cultural mafia and the general public. The press has also played its part in validating contemporary work, except one or two dance devoted critics like Ashish Khokar or Shanta Singh. But it is sad to see that audiences for dance are diminishing, especially in Mumbai. There are many who tell him shouldn't feel bitter about the dance scene because I've already been there and achieved a great deal. But in his own eyes, the past is behind, and he is always aware of all that he would like to accomplish. That's Astad. Thank you.